Our last keynote of the day is the moment I think a lot of you have been waiting for, AI. Frankly, CTO Chris will tell you all about a real-life case on a job and an engine we have built for a global manufacturer whose name I'm not allowed to say. But it's actually something that's working for real. So Chris, tell us all about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Klaus. So, thank you, all of you. Yeah, we just heard some great cases and examples on how creativity can shape brands and solve challenges and truly engage with people. And that is how we build trust and foster strong engagement with both our clients and their customers. But today I want to tell you a bit of, thank you. There, AI meets reality. No, today I want to talk to you about something different, a different kind of creativity. The kind of creativity that pushes boundaries in technology. So let's rewind to November 2022, less than 2 years ago when ChatGPT hit the market. I think we were all amazed about the possibilities it opened up. We could all see it being transformational. It was like new worlds being created in front of our eyes. So this is the story about how we at Frankly embraced AI and started using it not just for ourselves, but also for our clients. At Frankly, we immediately started looking into how can we use this? How can we use this to enhance our business? How can we use this both in the design and copy and technology team? Not just to boost productivity, but also as part of solutions for the clients. So we set up an incubator that should explore AI and help the other teams adapt. I think a lot of companies did it the same way. Let's do a task force. So how many of you in your companies did exactly that? Let's do a team that can explore AI. A few, yeah. Well, we did the same. We were no different, and our approach failed, like so many others that do it this way. Because AI is still a very new technology, and we were missing one important part in our approach: knowledge and data. Without solid input, AI is at best creates empty calories, and at worst, it creates beautiful lies. But we continued, we restructured our approach and started to anchor it around the teams and the people in the teams. We were looking for somewhere where AI could help us not just being faster or better, but with tasks that would be impossible before. And we didn't have to wait long before our opportunity arose. Our account team were meeting with one of our existing clients, a global manufacturing company. They had a challenge. They needed to get their product catalog ready for third-party sales channels, like Amazon. This was a very interesting task. More than 20,000 products needed to get up to speed. They existed in different systems. They existed at different business units across the business. And each business unit had different requirements to data. Some had images, some had data sheets, some had, a bit of both, but nobody has everything. It was a bit of a mess. So the first thing we did had nothing to do with AI. Not very much, at least. We simply built an aggregator, sourced everything in, built some nice dashboard for them so they could see, okay, where are we missing out? Which business unit do we need to punch and say, hey, get the data in there, get the product ready. But during the process, we discovered something that was quite interesting and quite difficult: the product descriptions. This is what a product description looks like. They are made by engineers for engineers. And they are not really the SEO-friendly and catchy text you want on Amazon. So almost 20,000 product text needed to be rewritten. And I tell you, this is a killer. There was no internal resources to write 20,000 product text. There were no one. So we got asked and say, hey, can you try to help us out here? Our copy team, they got a bit glazy-eyed here because this is not a dream task, I think you can imagine. 20,000 product descriptions. They would rather quit than do this, to be honest. But this is the age of AI, so this is what it's supposed to be good at. So our copy team sat together with our tech team, and we did a proof of concept on this. We used all the existing data we have just gathered for the dashboard, and then we fed it into the AI, combined with some very nice templates and prompts that the copy team had done, and it worked. We refined and did some iterations, of course, on this, but it actually generated some really good and nice product descriptions. So what would have been a year-long project for the team of copywriter was completed in 4 months without anybody needing to quit. And the result, the client has told us that the product stands out compared to other vendors and are moving upward and for better placement in the sales channels. So, sitting on this massive pile of data got our tech team thinking, what else can we do? So one of my developers approached me and said, hey, I have this really nice idea for an AI-powered search engine. And luckily, we had some time off our hands, so I said, yeah, let's try. Let's see where it goes. 2 weeks later, he came back with a demo. And at first, it didn't seem very impressive. You search for compressors, it found compressors. You search for pumps, it found pumps. But then he searched for a pump that's a woo woo, and it found all pumps with alarms. I didn't dare to say wee wee. So, but I can guarantee you that nowhere in the data set, nowhere in the database of pumps and compressors and all that was wee wee mentioned, or woo woo for that sake. So what is going on here? Well, the AI, or the LLM to be precise, is transforming word into pieces of intent and meaning. And that's why for the AI, wee wee or alarm are in the same category. And that's why it certainly can contextualize when you search for stuff. So from a tech point of view, this was really exciting. You know, we are nerds, we can be excited about stuff like this. But what was the business value of being able to search for stuff like wee wee pumps? To answer that, I will take you on a slight detour. Meet Lars. Lars is our account manager at our client. His job is to help customer get the right product, introduce them to the new product, advise and help, and in general make sure that they buy and keep buying. A big part of Lars' days goes with writing email, responding to questions, finding products, building quotes, and checking with expert about what the customers needs. When Lars is loggy, a customer will ask stuff like, hey, can I get 20 TX50s delivered in 10 days? It's a manufacturing, so you're not supposed to know the products. And he can easily look that up. But in reality, most of those questions, the clients now fix themselves on the e-commerce solution. So the question Lars gets today is more in this of this type. Well, I need a heating solution for an apartment building in Oslo. We have some size constraints, and we need some specific, outlets and so on. What can you do what can you recommend? Then the search begins. What is it, the extra requirements? Which heating unit fits these requirements? Can it be available at the specific dates? So Lars asks around. He reads data sheets. He writes follow-up emails. He go back and forth with questions to the customer, and so on. When everything goes smoothly, Lars can answer emails like that in 10 or 20 minutes. When things get more complicated, it can take days to get the information right. And now back to the search engine. What if Lars could search for these imprecise requirements and get useful information back? How much time could he save by not needing to read all the data sheets and not searching through all the specs and so on in the database? What if he didn't have to wait for experts to come back with answers? So the business case is this. What if we gave the sales teams easy access to product information and knowledge in a simple and easy way so they could do more faster? Meet Ida. Ida, this is Ida, an AI-based sales assistant that we have developed with the client over the last 6 months. And I think I need to add a bit here that I haven't on the cards. When we talk product data here, we are talking product catalogs of hundreds of thousands of products. So it's not something you can learn even if you try really hard. So what do we do in these 6 months? Well, we tackled 3 major issues. Content, lots of content. We have around 800,000 documents and a couple of million rows of data that IDA takes into consideration when I try to answer a question. This was the first obstacles that the client had experienced also with off-the-shelf product. When we add enough data and the data is sufficiently alike, it becomes very hard for a generic AI to actually find the right answer in. There is simply too many things that look like a good answer. So we had to tweak and adjust and learn the AI a lot about how the products are related to each other and how to find the right stuff in this big pile of data. And actually also come back with question when it was in doubt. The next part was flexibility. The IDA chatbot is built on top of ChatGPT, and it's not constrained to any specific type of questions. So, for the salesperson, that means that they can use IDA for all their AI assistant needs. So they can go into that and ask it to write a mail or come up with a sales quote or some pitches, adjust text and so on. They can do everything in there. But what they also can do, that they can't do in ChatGPT, is ask very specific product information. And they can ask it to, we did a very small test. I don't have it here on the screen. But it can do silly stuff like writing a poem about your valves and pumps. Last but not least, and I think this is a concern for many people when they talk about AI, is security and integration. IDA is fully integrated into the client's identity control. So when a salesperson log on, it knows where they're from, it knows what clients they're serving, and it knows everything about what price list and product list that they need to have available for them. All of it is, of course, run in a contained AI environment, so there's no risk of information spreading outside the organization. So back to the business. What have we actually seen in the last 3 months where we have beta tested IDA? Well, it works. Conservatively, salespeople get 10% more tasks done. 10% might not sound of much, but it can be a hell of a lot. Because we are talking about a sales organization of 2,000 people. So if we have 10% more, it's 10% full-time employees. There are 200 full-time employees that could do more business, and the important kind of business, because they don't longer need to run and search for information and fill out stuff that is boring and tedious. They can actually do the business that is interesting, like calling clients, like shaking hands, doing coffee agreements, and general go out and meet. So do the sales tasks that make your sales less transactional and more personal. Something we hadn't anticipated also came up. Salespeople using IDA actually use more products in their quotes, they use newer products, and in general have more detailed answers than they had before. Simply because when you're a salesperson, you have a tendency to use what you have used before. And now it's bespoke every time. So on that remark, I will end the story about IDA. It's far from finished, and it's still being written, and I'm sure the future will be bright. But if you're curious on how AI, data, and tech can help you solve problems, come by, have a talk. Thank you.
Okay, Chris.
Thank you, Chris, for taking us on this journey.
Any questions for Chris? Wait for the mic. Let's hear your name and where you're from.
John Nubian, YRB Magazine, based here in New York.
Yeah.
Question in regards to using ChatGPT, but are using using their API, and you're use your own LLM?
We are using the Azure private hosting version of it.
Okay.
And we're using it's a bit into the architecture of the solution. Yes, we're using the API a lot. exclusively. So we have a layer around it, basically, that everything goes through, that identify when we need to bring in,
what you need to bring in.
Yeah, what we need to bring in and when, and identifying.
But essentially, it's a one way street, because it's just taking the data and sharing it. So it's like security is kind of has never really been addressed.
It is addressed in that sense that it's it's a closed, a private AI model we are running against, Asia private model. So we are assured that in the sense that we are not giving any data back to OpenAI for them to train the model on. It's a private instance, so it's only us who is running us against it.
Mm-hmm.
And the data, all the data we have is in our closed environment. And we are prepping the AI bot with it, doing the queries, basically.
Got you. How does it offset as far as like what you're putting into the power concerns? As far as like the amount of energy that ChatGPT uses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bottle of water every time you do a prompt.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
21,000 homes
Yeah.
in 1 year using ChatGPT. How do you justify that to a client?
Yeah.
Versus how you're using your own LLM?
Yeah. So it's one of these. It's actually pretty hard to answer that one, because it's like if you would go completely green, you should keep away from that technology, because it is using an immense amount of energy. I think everybody in this game is hoping that technology will somehow save us, because until now, AI hasn't really been optimized toward that goal. It has been, just making it work was the first step. I would though say that the model we are using, or the way we are doing it, compared to what you call agent models, where you have a lot of AI models communicating and running, we don't do that here. We do something very different, because we don't have the time. We need to get quick responses, and we need to get this interaction going and feel fluently. So in that respect, we use less than you would typically do in these kinds of situations, where if you have a lot of support systems, you accept that the AI might be several minutes answering a query, and we cannot do that. So in that respect, we use less. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Sue. I work at Langon Health.
Yeah.
I was wondering, how did you decide between the different large language models? There's OpenAI,
Yeah,
Claude.
there's a lot.
And is it a
And
cost thing, or is it more of like, did you do a bunch of tests and realize one of them gives better answers for your context than the other?
yeah, so a bit of both. So the framework we have built this around is actually agnostic, because we have switched models a couple of times during the journey, because they are vastly different, and some are better than others to some things. We ended up going back to OpenAI's newest model here, because that was simply the one that gave us best result. We are keeping a keen eye on Google, because cost-wise that is more interesting, to be honest. But until it can replicate the result we get of with OpenAI, we will stay there. But yeah.
Just a small follow-up question. Sometimes the LLMs get stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
You can keep querying it, it's just going to get stuck in a loop, keep giving you the same answers.
Yes.
On the client side, they're not going to understand what's happening. How do you address that problem?
Well, we don't really address that problem, because the way we're using it don't have that is something you typically will see when you have agentic models, where you have multiple AIs talking, and we don't really hit that in the way we have built it. We also have use quite a lot of energy in getting it to say no, not inventing stuff, and not lying about what is in there. So we have actually a self-verification layer, where we ask it, the AI, say, hey, what you get back here and answer to that, is that a good answer when you know these facts?
Are you making it talk to each other?
Yeah.
That's cool.
We make them talk a bit to each other, not in like the slow way, but there's like a fact-checking level in there as well.
Thank you.
I think we had a question in the back.
Yes.
So all of these large language models and all of the things that are out there right now are using generative AI, right?
Yes.
So what's the difference in your the way you see it between contextual AI and generative AI?
I think that it's a bit of a floating thing here because the generative AI, as you said, like the LLM model out of the box, are actually not. They know what you've trained them to, and for us, our example here, we had to do a lot for it to know about the products. We had to do a lot of not training, but building understanding models for the AI to understand how do product categories, how do names, how do stuff relate to each other, because a certain item can refer to a specific product or a group of products or whatever. And we could definitely have trained a specific model around that. But I think from our point of view, it is also something about speed, because these models are unfortunately very resource expensive, but they are very fast to work with. And you can actually, I would never use it for something like understanding X-rays or something. But when we talk about an AI problem that are in the space of text and understanding text and relating to text, they are very good generalizations. I think when we go further down and this goes into production and we also start to roll it out and maybe cost becomes an issue or environment, there's definitely some places where we use OpenAI, for example, in classification problems inside this, where we could use a contextual model and train that and that would be way faster. So, yeah.
Right. Thank you. I was going to ask a follow-up, but I can ask you privately.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Great.
All right.
Any other questions?
I think
Any more
that's it.
questions?
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.